Hello all, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk about an incident that happened in Atlanta last week. A young lady working at Subway was killed because the customer started arguing with her and said there was too much mayonnaise on the sandwich. Check out this news story. Truly horrific.
We're learning new information about the person who was allegedly shot and killed over mayonnaise. You heard that right. The person killed was an employee at a Subway restaurant just identified as 26-year-old Brittany Macon.
11 Alive's Paula Searle has spent the night getting to know a lot more about the victim. Paula?
Yeah, Ron, I spoke to her family on the phone tonight. Many of them too distraught, too shocked to speak to me on camera, but they didn't want to miss out on the opportunity of telling me how important, how sweet, and how hardworking Brittany was. This is Brittany Macon. Her family members tell 11 Alive she had just started her job at this Subway on Northside Drive about 3 weeks ago. Just before that, she worked at UPS. On Sunday night, police say a 36-year-old shooter walked into the Subway, killing Brittany and injuring another employee. Family members identified that employee as 24-year-old Jada Nicole, who police say is in critical condition. The restaurant owner, Willie Glenn, says it all unfolded because a customer thought there was too much mayonnaise on his sandwich.
Well-rounded young ladies, really hard workers. Everybody loved them.
Glenn adds that Jada had her 5-year-old son with her inside the store when it happened. Family says Brittany and Jada lived together and that Brittany loved Jada's son, who witnessed the shooting, as her own.
Someone who failed to resolve a conflict by just walking away, having a conversation to just reorder a sandwich, decided to take actions into his hands, and now we have families who are devastated.
Brittany's family adds that she was smart and sweet, so much so she planned and paid for a big family reunion a month ago for everyone to be together. That was the last time many family members were able to see her. She was a daughter, a sibling to 4, a cousin to many, and a hard worker.
I don't know what the world is coming to. Everybody wants to carry a gun. Everybody wants to, scare somebody with a gun. It's just, it's scary out here.
Now, Brittany's family tells me they were all supposed to be together, reunited for the 4th of July in Savannah. Instead, family members from Arizona and Savannah are flying in after this tragic and horrific incident. Ron?
Okay, Paula, thanks a lot for the update.
Now, check out this follow-up story about the murderer.
We have new details about the man charged with shooting 2 Subway restaurant employees. Atlanta police say that the shooter pulled the trigger because of too much mayonnaise on his sandwich.
Fulton County court records now show 36-year-old Melvin Williams is charged with murder, aggravated assault, and a gun charge. Fox 5's Eric Perry has been following this story for the last few days.
Yeah, Courtney, Tom, let's start with some good news that we can bring out of this chaotic situation. Family members of that 24-year-old recovering at the hospital say she is off of the ventilator and is talking. So that is the good news here. However, I've learned that the suspect in this case has a very lengthy criminal record here. He was actually out on bond on a separate incident, so that means he should not have had a gun in the first place.
Just the fact that somebody would think that they could just, take somebody's life over a sandwich.
For the first time, we are learning who police have charged with pulling the trigger Sunday evening, killing 26-year-old Brittany Macon and injuring 24-year-old Jada Statham. Both were employees at this Subway on Northside Drive. Court records show Melvin Williams faces charges connected to a shooting where Atlanta police say a 36-year-old man shot into the restaurant, stemming from an argument over too much mayo on a sandwich. Stephanie Griggs sent us these pictures of her sister Jada. She says the young mom had only been working at the restaurant for about 3 weeks, and her 5-year-old son was inside at the time of the shooting.
Jada did tried to shield him and told him to get up under the table. And she kind of, tried to make sure he was pushed out of the way. So I don't even think the young man even knew that he was there, because when she saw that it was escalating, she did what any mother would do, is to make sure their child is protected. She was on a ventilator, and she actually did call me today, and I was so glad to hear her voice after she got out of surgery. So I know she's doing much better when she was able to pick up the phone and actually call me. So she is able to talk now.
According to court records, Williams has a lengthy criminal history. We found 8 mugshots with Fulton County, and records show he was out on bond for charges of cruelty to children and aggravated assault at the time of the subway shooting. That means he should not have had a gun. Griggs says Jada and Brittany Macon were close friends and roommates. She hopes this is a wake-up call to put the guns down.
It's very important that people love their loved ones because you never know when today is your last day.
Yeah, back out here live, more good news. Doctors were able to save her kidneys there. They thought they were going to have to remove it. As for her 5-year-old son, I'm told he's with relatives right now, getting that love and support that he needs after such a traumatic experience. Williams faces several charges, including murder, aggravated assault, and then gun charges as well. We do know he had a first appearance earlier in the week where a judge denied bond. That's the latest here. Outside of Greater Memorial Hospital, I'm Eric Perry, Fox 5.
They charged him with murder, aggravated assault, and several gun charges, which they have not specified. Now, what's crazy, this guy is a career criminal. You saw that, 8 mugshots. And they want to talk about put the guns down. No. Good people need to pick their guns up. They need to be ready to use their guns. Now, something that I can't find in the news, but I read about it in an article, this same incident. They said the manager of that Subway, he had a firearm on him and returned fire, but missed. Now, they said the whole thing started because they supposedly put too much mayonnaise on the sandwich. If you order something, they get the order wrong, I'm sure they'll be happy to remake it or refund your money. I've been places before and they got the order wrong, and it's no big deal. The problem is rectified within a minute or two. It's not that big a deal at all. And that reminds me of a few years ago, I was in Five Guys restaurant, and as soon as I walked in, there was a lady screaming, cussing, acting a fool in there. And it's all kinds of people. The restaurant is super crowded. It's all kinds of people in there with small kids and everything. And she's yelling and cussing out the people working there. Talking about, y'all done effed up the order, screaming at them, berating the employees. So nobody's saying anything to this fool. So I said to her, I'm like, hey, your behavior is highly inappropriate. If you can't act and conduct yourself like a normal adult, then you need to leave this establishment, plain and simple. So then she started cussing me out, and I told her she needs to leave and everything. And then one of the employees, he started smirking at her. So she turned to him and said, I will pull out a gun and kill every MF in here. Wrong thing to say with me around. I don't take threats lightly at all. And that's a terroristic threat. When you have a crowded place like that and someone issues a blanket threat of violence, that's called terroristic threats here in Georgia. So I did what any normal Second Amendment supporting individual would do. I pulled my weapon on her and pointed it right at her and told her to keep her hands where I could see them. I then told the young man working there to call 911 and tell them that there's a woman in here making terroristic threats and they need to step up the response time. So she had her phone in one hand, her other hand, she had nothing in her other hand. And when I pulled my gun on her, everybody in the restaurant started clapping. And I made it real clear to her that if she was to reach in her pocket, if she was to reach for anything, I would assume she'd reach for a weapon and I would shoot her right there on the spot. No question about it. There was nothing to be misunderstood. And then she stood there for a minute. And then the funny thing is, she called 911 from her phone and the dispatcher hung up on her. And then she started edging her way toward the door, started backing up toward the door. And I still have my gun trained on her. And I told her, if she's going to her vehicle to retrieve a weapon, I will shoot her from inside the store. And I wasn't playing either. I don't play that stuff at all. You make a threat like that and I'm around, I will be prepared to take you out right then and there. And guess what? I would not lose any sleep over it either. Because I'm not going to have my life and other people's lives threatened by some jackass out here, even if they don't mean it. Because that's not something you kid about. There's nothing funny, there's nothing amusing about that at all. And like I said to her, if you're the kind of person that flies off the handle, if you don't know how to conduct yourself like a normal person, stay at home. Plain and simple. So I ended up getting my food for free, and this young lady that was working there, she had said to me, sir, I'm gonna hurry up and get your food real fast so you can get out of here before the cops come. I said, no, I want to stick around and talk to him. Might be some of the guys I used to work with. Turned out one of the cops who showed up, me and him had a training class together, so we were sitting there talking for a while. And that lady, when she got to her car, she sped out of there because she realized she was about to go to jail. But comes back to the original news story. So this guy was acting a fool about too much mayonnaise on his sandwich, and instead of having them remake it or give him his money back, he decides to leave there. And you notice how the shots were fired from outside, because they said he fired into the store from outside. And while everything was escalating, while he was arguing and screaming and acting all crazy and everything, neither of these young ladies were armed, which is horrible. And this guy, he shot from outside. And the thing about that is, if you're working in a store like that and you have somebody that's really aggressive like that and they leave, you need to keep an eye on them until they are out of eyesight. But it's very unfortunate, and people who work in these places, they need to seriously be armed. And the thing about that, even if you work at a company and they have a policy that says no firearms allowed, hey, look at it like this. Your life is worth more than your paycheck, right? Because if you have your firearm on you and you use it in self-defense, hey, so what if you get fired? You'll probably get offered a better job before the week is over. At least you'll be alive to tell your story. At least you'll have a fighting chance at survival, because when you don't have a gun and the criminal produces one, there's nothing you can do then at that point. You are outgunned and outmatched, and that's very unfortunate. So, like I always say, oh, and that guy had been arrested numerous times before and was probably a prohibited person, because they said that he was out on bail. If you're out on bail, you're not supposed to possess any firearms anyway. But I guarantee the guy is probably a convicted felon, which means he's already a prohibited possessor. And the thing is, you never know when evil and crazy are gonna strike. And being a concealed carrier, you have to be prepared for that at all times. Like me, I'm the kind of person that when I go into an establishment, number one, I never sit with my back to the door. I always sit where I can see everybody coming in and everybody going out. And I'm always running different scenarios through my head that, okay, if there was somebody shooting from this side of the place over here, then I know I've got cover over here. I got concealment over there. I know I can return fire from right there. I got a really good vantage point from right there. All kinds of stuff like that always goes to my head. But like I always say, it's best to be armed at all times. So remember, stay armed, stay vigilant, and stay tactical. We'll see you next time.